Thanks for joining me again today. This is Walking Free, and I'm Pastor Theresa from the Praise and Worship Family Outreach Center. And last week we ended talking about the power of presence, His presence. John 1:9 says that He lights every man that comes into the world. We're not born without His presence in us, His light in us. His presence is in us in the womb even, and we know Him. So His presence, His very essence, is in us even when we don't even realize it. Thank God, or how would we have any hope at all? How would we recognize Him when we are ready to be accountable and move toward Him and accept Him? He never leaves us. He didn't leave the three Hebrew children in the fiery furnace. He was with them. He was seen as a fourth man in there when they threw three in. He was with Apostle Paul in the lower dungeons. He was with Daniel in the lion's den. Jesus said, "Surely I am with you always, even unto the end of the age." That's Matthew 28:20. Always. That's always. And surely that's a definite statement. If we can realize the very essence, the I am, is in us all the time, the resource that we have there. This is how we can proceed with overcoming our hurts and healings. We're not alone. He created us in the first place, and He knows how to put us back together. Note this, some scars can and probably will remain, but they're reminders of where we've been, where we've come from, our testimony of His grace in our lives, His mercy. Even Jesus' glorified body had scars when He came back to show the disciples that He was risen. It showed that He had conquered death. It showed what He had been through. So let's start by acknowledging His presence and asking for His help, for His direction and His wisdom. We need to get turned in the right direction. We need wisdom in who we trust to confide in, who we choose for counsel along the way. And it's not always a former best friend or a family member. Sometimes we're so messed up at the beginning of this journey that we can't see clearly, and we still make the wrong choices. 82% of women use silence to deal with pain, but we're going to have to speak up, confess, and go on to move forward. Trusting Him is number one. So back to a healthy person to help us through this journey. The reality is that there are many other voices in our lives. We may have a hard time trusting, they have a hard time trusting us or believing in us, especially family. Family will even speak doubt into our situation right off. They'll discourage us. We have to shut out their opinions and turn and not look back. We make this decision, we've got to want it first, then we've got to be intentional about keeping this, deliberate. We've got to soldier on in this. If you want it, you will do that. And you'll begin to see Him moving and doing things in your life, and that is more encouragement to keep going. Because we're talking about a permanent fix here that only the Father can do. He may have to put us back on the potter's wheel. He may have to smash us down a couple times to reform us, to remove a few lumps that are not characteristic of the vessel He's fashioning. He's fashioning us all into His own image the whole time. He first begins within each of our lives. So stuff happens all along the way. We take on stuff, we accept and believe those hitchhikers are now a part of us. But they are not true of our character. They need to be plucked off. He sees the scum that builds up. We get used to it and we keep on until the weight of it all begins to restrict us. So removing the scum takes a little scrubbing and elbow grease sometimes. But let Him do it. Trust Him in the process. I'll say this many times when I speak on these subjects. Jesus said, "Take my yoke upon you. My yoke is easy, my burden is light." That's Matthew 11:29. If we yield to being yoked together with Him, it takes all the work out of it, but we have to go in His direction. We have to go with Him. He's the leader. And I love that we can be safe in that. Who's going to mess with us now if we're hooked together with Jesus? Philippians 4:13 says, "I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me." All means all. And since He's living inside of us, we just have to ask Him to be our strength when we're weak. If we're struggling, ask Him to be our joy, our peace in a situation. Let Him be the things that He is already. That's His nature, until we are transformed into that, and it becomes just automatic, spontaneous in us. When He steps in, it's pure and it's a real thing. So what we do next is admit that we're powerless over our problems and our lives have become unmanageable, and turn it over to Him. Here, our powerlessness will result in strength, His strength, at all times. We need to realize that we're not on our own. I'll reemphasize that. But so many people rely on family. They're my family, they're my blood. I go back to them. And like I said, it's not always a healthy thing. I testify to that myself. I come from a very unhealthy place to go back to. We can call it dysfunctional. We can call it a lot of things. Now, maybe in the future it's okay, but during the journey of healing and overcoming, we may need to find another place, a safe place, and I encourage you to find a faith-based place for your safe place. A church family, you can start with an overcomers group, but there is hope, there is healing. We're not as broken as it's not a permanent thing. We're not as broken as we think we are sometimes. It feels bad. It's a bad place to be. But even broken crayons still color. And fragments and pieces of fabric can put together a beautiful quilt covering, remnants. And so He will use us in every kind of way, fashion us into His own, the image He has. That when we were in our mother's womb, He already said, I know the plans I have for you, for your future. And so we're going to trust Him, lean on the Father, and let Him do His work in us. I'll see you next week, same time.